Yeah. Yeah. I know they mad for no reason. I'm holding on to change my life. Gotta move fast for a reason. I'm holding on to change my life. Huddling. I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. Huddling. I'm staring at charts until I retire. Oh, 700K, I'm selling a Bitcoin. Haters mad, but they listen to this one. More profit coming to my direction. Yeah, you know me, I don't need a mention. I got the remedy, ooh, yeah. They don't just follow me, ooh, yeah. You say allegedly, ooh, yeah. You would subscribe to me, ooh, yeah. Staring at chart, drawing a line. Make a decision, you out of time. Huddling, I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. Huddling, I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. See on stage. OnChain Revolution. Youngest phone.
Welcome back to On-Chain Revolution. My name is Shizzy. On this channel, we cover the entire crypto market. What's up, guys? We have an amazing show for you guys today, live from the On-Chain Hour. And today's show is actually going to be better than the markets are. Bitcoin is sitting at 90,700. What happened over the last 24 hours, in my opinion, was just retail selling. I had a lot of people in a chat that I was in over on TikTok really wondering if this was over, if the 4-year cycle was done, blah, 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 blah. A lot of afraid retail. So what happens is a lot of retail go into the markets. They're done. They're out. They're selling their Bitcoin, selling their Ethereum, selling their assets, and they're out. And then the whales come in right as they sell. They're buying it back up. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. We have Wintermute actually coming into the market right now and buying every single minute. What happens is these exchanges that were selling 2 weeks ago, or even last week, for instance, they actually were sitting on a lot of cash. What they do is they send their assets to Wintermute. Wintermute actually goes to 5 or 6 or 7 different chains or different exchanges, and they dump those assets so the market doesn't get hit in one place. So, and then they send that cash back to the corporation that sent them the crypto assets in the first place. And then they're sitting on a lot of cash. So what they do is they see a market right now. They send Wintermute back to cash. Wintermute goes back into the markets. They buy on different places. So that way the price can stay constant and just move up. I'm really excited because of the fact that you are seeing them basically say it's the bottom. You know, Binance is giving money to Wintermute. Coinbase is giving money to Wintermute. They need that crypto back for when retail steps in and starts buying. Especially you're seeing it from Coinbase Prime. Coinbase Prime, a lot of people just don't understand how Coinbase Prime and BlackRock work, right? So BlackRock has an ETF, right? That ETF is custodianed by Coinbase. So every morning, especially this week, you see, oh, BlackRock sent $200 million worth of Bitcoin, $300 million worth of ETH to Coinbase Prime. No, they're just, it did happen. But all they're doing is they're settling from yesterday's inflows or outflows of the ETF. That's why you see that it's not like BlackRock dumping Bitcoin. It's just them settling from the outflows from yesterday. All you gotta do is check the outflows from the ETFs. You will actually see it's the same amount as they send to Coinbase Prime in the morning, or if they buy, it's the same amount that they buy. It's just crazy. People keep falling for this stuff on X and some of these big accounts too. I'm really shocked by the stupidity on crypto X, right, or crypto Twitter, or whatever you want to call it. I feel like the TikTokers are actually more educated than some of these X people. They're just so into their feelings. It's crazy, but there is a lot of really good stuff happening in the market right now that's just not being seen because everyone's so afraid and so scared, right? We're going to be talking about that today at 12 p.m. Eastern time, 1 hour from right now. We're going to be having America.Fun. They're coming in to try to change the Launchpad game. I'm a little skeptical about their approach. We're going to be talking about that later with the team, the guy from the team over there. So really excited for that. But let's get today's show started. So without further ado, let me bring my partner here as always, Mr. Yagobi. What's up, buddy?
What's up? What's up? What's up?
What's going on, man? How you feeling today? How's everything? I mean, 90K. Were you one of the reasons that were selling?
Am I one of the reasons why we're selling?
No. You one of the retail.
Retail that's selling.
Yeah.
No, I mean, 90 getting to 90,000 was obviously actually wicked down to 89. It looks like right 89,185, and that's obviously something that I didn't necessarily see coming, right? But it looks like it's rebounding now at 92,500, and I think one of the things that you got to keep your mind on and focused on is really zooming out, right? Because if you look at Bitcoin's price a year from today, it's kind of close to the price, but like if you go back a year and a half, I would say, right, then you can see just how much of like return it has been for people that bought in right before the ETF or during the ETF times and stuff like that. So we're still in a good spot. It's just not as good as it was a month ago, right? Or even like 2 weeks ago, I would say. But the alts seem to be holding up pretty strong. There's things that are happening in the broader ecosystem of Web3, new projects. America.Fun, you mentioned we're going to have them on. Different approach with Solana meme coins. You also have AI products and infrastructure, Hustle, getting integrated with Hedera. And you just have a lot of things that are happening from a builder and infrastructure level. But it's almost kind of like not just the liquidity clean out that happened on October 10th that cleaned out a lot of retail users, but it's almost kind of like a little bit of a builder clean out as well. Nothing against the builders that didn't continue. There was a big one. I think it was what was it called? It was like DApp Review or something that was like has been around forever, and they just closed their doors, right? And I saw so many OGs in there that I know that were like, man, this is a sad day. I used you guys a lot, and so it is a transition, I feel like, overall for our space. And so I think the people that you see starting to thrive in the next couple of months, 2 to 6 months, those are people to keep your eye on because they made it through this.
Winners win and losers lose. I mean, that's just the name of the game, right? In order to have winners, you need to have losers. It sucks that it has to be that way, but it is. You can't just have millions of companies doing the same thing. It just doesn't work that way. You're going to have the people who understand how the business works and runways and understanding, that even in a bear market, you still have to grind. All right. So we'll see which ones really come from this, but you're going to see a lot more, in my opinion. Businesses kind of close their doors, kind of hoping and praying for, run up in their coin so they can dump on their holders. And that's what a lot of these projects want. They want their coin to go up so they can sell some down. But yeah, we'll kind of see. But, when it comes to Bitcoin, Ethereum and stuff like that, yeah, it's nice to kind of see everything green. But there's only one chart that I'm watching. There's only one chart in the entire crypto market that I'm watching. And that's the DXY. I say it over and over and over every single day. But this is the chart, the only chart that matters. While the DXY is in this sideways that it's in, if we head back up to 110, I'm bearish. If we drop below 96, I'm bullish. This is the only chart that you should be looking at right now, in my opinion. This is just my opinion. And this has been something, as we see, right? Every single time it dropped below 96, we've seen an all season. This is 2017, 2018. This is the 2021, 20. All right. And how do we get the DXY down this low? Well, a few things. We cut rates, right? If you cut rates, it adds liquidity into the markets. The more liquidity in the markets, the cheaper the dollar goes. And also, we start quantitative easing. We start the Fed actually printing money to buy bonds into the market. That'll send this lower. So we are, as of December 1st, we are starting quantitative pausing. Right now, we're still in a tightening phase where the Fed is going in and selling bonds into the market, taking liquidity from the market. So that ends December. So I'm actually curious to kind of see. But I do think this downward pressure we've seen so far was just people getting ready for the Fed to stop tightening, right? And then I think we're going to get another one when people in the pause area where people are saying, oh, the Fed's going to start printing money soon. I want to front run this. So this is the only chart that I'm really looking at. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of our last hope in terms of like the chart metrics analytics.
Yeah.
This still looks good, right? Almost everything else, like the M2 supply, has completely deviated from Bitcoin, or Bitcoin has deviated from the M2 supply, right? And then you have the 50 SMA, right? 50 SMA, which is formed a weekly candle underneath it. So it's almost kind of like the Dixie chart right here, DXY is the only thing that's not telling us, hey, it's over at this point, right? And I have to put on my tinfoil hat here and say, look, there's conversations about the U.S. government trying to, eliminate their debt through crypto. That could make a big difference in how this year and cycle is playing out, right? And especially right before a really aggressive downturn for the DXY. Maybe it's kind of hanging out before that happens and everything's getting prepared for that. That could actually have an explosive kind of momentum effect if that happens, right? So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays. And I agree with you. For me, my last leg kind of was that 50 week SMA, but you've given me some hope here with this chart. So I'm just kind of like, okay, let's see that sucker eventually break down below.
Well, yeah, I mean, this chart is basically saying, hey, like, alt season hasn't started yet. We haven't seen crypto really go up. Look at this right here, right? From this huge down low, what did we see? Well, we saw Ethereum actually go to new highs, right? On this downward pressure. So what happens if we see another one, right? And I'm actually expecting us to kind of take this from right here and head down until about May. I think we get down to about potentially down here in April, May, right? And then potentially we do something where we have this for a little bit and then right here. So I'm actually expecting, potentially the right here be the actual top of the market being October. I think also see it being in like April, May. Got to remember too, and when we were down here, the actual top, a lot of people say was like May, which was like right here, which was the bottom of it, right? So that could be, we could see next November actually be the bottom here before we head back up and then potentially do it again, right? So who really knows? But this is kind of what I'm hoping for right here.
Yeah, I think that's a optimistic outlook, right? One thing I was listening to Benjamin Cohen's latest video, and he said he's a person that's gotten it right for the most part this cycle, right? This post-halving year, but he started off with saying, first, just so everybody knows, anybody, like no one knows what's going to happen in the future. There's certain people that can get it right more than others, but the cycle is definitely seems to be pretty different. No one knows what's going to happen. But, if we do play off of the DXY and that is something that has been reoccurring whenever alt season is triggered, the DXY goes down to that area, right? We just haven't had that happen. And we've stayed above that threshold for quite some time. So it's almost kind of like a ticking time bomb at some point, right? But we'll see how it all plays in and ties in together as well and see, I think we're going to know if the current administration's goal is to really do that, is to kind of devalue the dollar a bit to eliminate debt easier, because I think we're going to see an aggressive kind of to the downside with that.
I mean, all that is printing money, right? You start printing money, the dollar goes down because there's more dollars entering.
You
it's
have to
kind
have
of supply and demand.
Official reason to do it, right? In terms of like the Fed and all that stuff. But I mean, it's easy. They've done it many times before, right?
Well, you just got to tease the R word a little bit. Say a little bit of recession. Say, hey, McDonald's applications are an all-time high. This is a sign of recession. You get a few more of those, you have to start printing money. I mean, there's no other way to kind of solve the job market. And what happens is, so this allows these companies to actually keep employees and then take loans out against their business, right? Which it creates work or keeps work. So I think you have to get rates under 2%. I think that's coming very soon. So, all right. So you did mention something. You mentioned the global liquidity versus Bitcoin. And see, we have deviated bad. I mean, I remember.
Where's Colin?
So this is the global liquidity versus Bitcoin. Something back here, we were following this in all year, like March, April. We're like, bro, we're going to $200,000, and then Bitcoin decided not to do it. We have.
Can you blame us? Look at that chart. Can you blame us?
No, I know.
I mean, like, people are like, "Oh, the M2 was never a thing." What do you mean it was never a thing? It was a thing for 75% of the way.
Yeah. But people are saying this was like manipulated down, right? So, and stuff like that, and 7 trillion of extra liquidity to flow in the crypto. So there's $7 trillion, according to Coin Bureau here, is saying it's about to enter crypto. And we do know crypto is only a $3 trillion asset, right? I mean, asset class, right? Bitcoin being 60% of that, a little under 2 trillion. But I mean, we could see potentially $7 trillion, because I mean that's the difference right now from here to here, $7 trillion. So I mean, we could see it. We could see some upward movement now, a little bit of a catch up, maybe.
A lot of bit of catch up. I mean, so to be fair, before the correlation at the front of that chart, I don't know if it was right before that, but it obviously
Yeah.
deviates at different times, right? And so, yeah, you know, what's the main cause of the deviation? What is about to happen? What's about to come up? You know, because one of the things is, you know, there's always a black swan, a couple black swans that pair up with the bear market time. I mean, that's kind of just how it goes, whether it's planned, timed, whatever. And we obviously haven't heard anything that's that large yet, but the October 10th situation could have caused something that could be lingering.
Yeah.
But you know, we're gonna find out, you know, what's the deal with this deviation. Also, how much of a indicator will the DXY be as well? Because everybody's kind of waiting on that now. You're kind of going through like each of your, you know, I guess tools or data analytics data that you use, and now we're at the DXY, or at least I am, and that's what I'm kind of holding on to at this moment.
I mean, honestly, looking back, it should have always been, right. Benjamin Cohen has been somebody who's said it. He said you're not going to see altcoins running into quantitative tightening. You're just not going to see it, right? And he's been somebody who said we're not having an alt season. We're not having an alt season. And he's like, I'm not talking about your alt. Like, he
Well,
just kind of messes
he
around.
he
And
didn't say we're not going to have an alt season. He said it's going to come, but not necessarily when we expect it.
well, 2025, he said that we're not seeing an alt season in 2025. That's kind of so he said that over, and everyone else thought he was, you're out of your mind. Like, no, but he's been somebody who, I got the DXY chart off him, right? Like, that's something that he's been harping on. And he said, without the dollar dropping, there's no reason to leave the dollar. He's been saying that for a while. There's no reason to leave Nvidia. There's no reason to leave Apple stock. It's just, there's just no reason to. You're making money.
Yeah,
So
I mean, it's true, and even us, we got to a point to where whether it was Jeff, the founder of Merlin Chain, that had an influence on our perspective a little bit, but we got to the point to where we said, you know, not every coin's going to see that, you know, blasted liquidity into it like the previous cycles, right? So we knew that it wasn't going to be exactly like 2021 or even 2017 with ICO season, but we definitely expected some more life in at least like these mid caps and stuff like that, right? So yeah, you know, Benjamin Cohen's been right up until now, you know, for this year, and we'll see if he continues on.
yeah, and he did say, he's getting a little bearish, but we'll see. I don't know how you can get bearish into the Fed cutting rates and the Fed, about to pause tightening, but we'll see. But shout out to the Dale. He's here. My guy. Appreciate you. Ryan Bolin is here. So what's up, crypto fam?
Bowling.
Appreciate you guys. Appreciate you, my guy there, Bolin. He said we're currently writing history, a mortif, simply living in it. Pay attention now. My guy. Appreciate you, my friend. All right. So we had a thing this morning, and I realized a lot about myself this morning. I didn't know how to do my job. So Cloudflare went down this morning, and I didn't have X. I didn't have ChatGPT. I was lost. I was like a deer in the headlights. I was like, what do I do? So what's going on with this Cloudflare? It is over now, but they're saying that it was like huge, but a lot of crypto stuff was down as well. Wallets, everything. It's crazy.
I think they support 20% of the entire internet. So, you know, a lot of the Web3 stuff got kind of, you know, tucked into that. You know, ironically, a couple of the Web3 platforms like Pump Fun and GMGN were running perfectly fine. The casino literally never closes, right? But yeah, you know, it was frustrating, right? We were kind of like, do we need to reschedule today's guest? Do we need to do this and that? And then it kicked back on. But you know, there's these ideas that have been happening in our space about having decentralized server cloud, you know, data storage and stuff like that, secure servers and stuff. But until someone or a big company kind of pushes that through, we're going to be stuck with these centralized services, right? So Amazon Web Services went down, I think, last month. Now we have Cloudflare, right? So they both have a pretty sizable chunk of the pie in terms of websites and stuff. So
yep. Shout out to Patty Poo, my guys here.
Patty
Appreciate you,
Poo,
my friend, as always. All right, let's move along. U.S. President Donald Trump says $2,000 stimulus checks will be distributed the middle of 2026. So this could be possible, depending on what the judges do in the case against Trump. I think it was Congress or something kind of pushed back on the tariffs. The judges kind of came out and said, this is under review. We don't know if Donald has the right to be putting these tariffs on these countries. Donald Trump's like, hey, I'm giving this money back to the people. I'm taking it from these large businesses and I'm giving it back to the people. So I'm thinking that he's just using this as leverage. I mean, I think he will give the people $2,000, but I think it's mainly because of leverage against the tariffs. And if they come out and they don't do this, then potentially they're like, oh, the Democrats won't let you guys have $2,000 and stuff like that. I don't know. This seems all political right here, but it would be nice to have, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a chess move. I truly believe that, right? And I don't know if it's going to work for the Supreme Court, how they're going to rule it, but and I wish it was sooner. I wish it was maybe like Q1 of 2026, but mid 2026. I think at this point everybody will just take something, right? But he did say it. So if SCOTUS pushes through and approves tariffs of how they are, then he's got to do this because it's out there.
No, he will do it. I think that's always kind of been a part of the plan, right? But I think but how much money is the U.S. government going to pocket because of these tariffs? I mean, they're getting like $10 billion. I think the whole $2,000 is like $10 billion, and they're getting like $10 billion every week in tariffs right now, or something crazy like that. So it's a very minimal amount to the comparison of what they're taking in. But I think this is going to be another buy the rumor, sell the news opportunity here, especially for crypto. I don't think a lot of that money will enter crypto. I think some of it will, but I think a majority of it would be like people just buying TVs. That's what I saw last time we saw a stimulus. I went to get a TV, and TV prices were up 40% in like 2 weeks because everyone with a stimulus went and got a brand new TV and shit like that. So I don't know how much this is going to end up being going on risk on, but I do think the rumor of it will actually pump markets potentially up until May, June, July. So,
well, every risk on asset class boomed, during that year.
My pushback though. Why?
Yeah, I mean, you can say people took mortgage, extra money out of their homes and stuff like that. Sure, some people did, but there's a lot of young people, college students and stuff, that were buying up cards that were priced 500% higher than they should have been. Everything was inflated completely, right? So I think it was a combination of everything. The stimulus, the refinancing, getting extra money out, and the momentum too, because there was momentum and it was being passed actually from industry to industry. Tech stocks kind of boomed, then they dumped, and then you see sports cards and collectibles boom, and then crypto went crazy. And so I think anybody would want that environment one more time. It's just give me another chance than that, because that was a crazy time.
Well, I think you get that, but I don't think you get that from here. I think when you get rates down to 2% from bank to bank, which kind of gives people that were paying 7% for mortgages able to refinance it at half the rate, right? And then a lot of those people will also take money out because their homes have value now, so they'll actually let me take 20 grand out, and that's what you've seen. I mean, a lot of people refinance at 0%, especially in March, April, May, and June of 2020. I mean, that's when you saw the insane amount of people just coming in saying 0 rates. I'm getting my mortgage down to 1% because the rates are 0. That's what it was. From bank to bank, it was 0. So the banks were able to give you, 1%, 1.25%. So everyone refinanced. And when they refinanced, they realized, I could take 50 grand out. And that's what you saw. People were, it was I was trying to get my floors done around that time. And they were all just we're booked because everyone was taking money at their house and doing stuff with their house and stuff. I mean, minimum, my sister said $50,000 people were taking out, minimum. Some people took out 100, right? Depending on how much value you had in your home, because it was basically free money because you're borrowing at 1%.
Well,
I mean,
not necessarily free money. You know, you still have to pay it back, but also a lot of people got turned upside down though once the valuations kind of started to revert a bit. You know, so especially like California and like parts of Texas. There was a lot of parts of Texas that were completely Austin area was completely inflated in the housing
mhm.
industry, right? So they got burnt for the ones that did take it out. And a lot of people were putting it back into their homes too. Some, because there were chunks of money. People were getting pools down here, because those started getting crazy. Like they started getting to be like 80 to 100 grand to get a pool down here, right? So, nevertheless, that type of environment is obviously good for the risk
Mhm.
on space, and I don't think we will probably never see anything as crazy as COVID times, but maybe we can get somewhere like half as crazy. And that would be good for our industry. I don't know about the individual people.
Yeah, 100%. I just think it's more important to get rates down than this stimulus, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. Moving along, though, the Solana ETF wave is here. 2 more spot Solana ETFs are expected to launch tomorrow with Fidelity FSOL and Canary's SOLC. So we know Canary is leading the charge. This is their third. They have a Hedera, they have a Litecoin, and they have a Solana, and they have XRP. So they have 4 now. Fidelity. This will be Fidelity's first one. The Canary one, though, is actually different than the rest because Canary is going to let you, and this is kind of why they haven't put out their Solana ETF. It's a staking ETF, so you'll be earning a dividend paid back in the shares each year. So depending on how much they are able to, obviously stake and earn, depending on, what they use. If they used their own type of, node, then they'll be earning 4 to 6%. And if they use something like a liquid staking asset like Lido or something like that for SOL, then it might be earned less. But it's still a pretty big deal if you're earning 2% when just holding Solana.
Yeah, especially for entities that are just looking to put maybe some USDC or another asset into like Solana, right? Like I know that there was some news that maybe like the Libra group or whatever that ran that, they just wanted to park it and they parked it in Sol because they felt like it was cheaper. And also like I think that's a smart play right now that people are kind of like, well, it's kind of shown weakness in the price action. Everything has, but you can kind of this has been one of the places in our space that's been a little bit easy to kind of forecast based on the ETF activity. Ethereum was a prime example, and I think everybody in crypto Twitter wasn't paying attention to it because it was the butt of all jokes, right? But then you had these sharp links and stuff really start to pile in. But if you were noticing those actions early, you probably would have been like, okay, let me start to pick up some Ethereum at 1700, 2200. 2300, you know what I mean? And you would have at least like doubled your money, depending on where you got in at, right? So I think Solana is that next opportunity here.
Yeah, at 140, I mean, this is equivalent to me. This is equivalent to Ethereum at 1300, right? At 130 bucks is the same thing. I think that Solana could be a $500 asset by the end of this year. In the next 45 days, I think Solana could do something absolutely insane. Solana is the most used blockchain. What does that mean? That means that it's the most used token for gas. You need to have Solana in every single one of your wallets to be able to do anything, right? And I feel like, it has double the size of Ethereum and even Base, right? So it's one of those things where I think Solana could really run here, and this could be a bottom, mainly though because of all these ETFs about to come online. And if you're somebody who potentially, you missed Ethereum at 1300, you're saying in Solana at 130, saying, F it, I'll go to this one.
Yeah, and I think people are starting to do that, right? Or at least like the institutions and stuff, because their inflow has been consistent too with the ETF, as compared to some of these other ETFs. That Solana is the one that's the hotter of everybody.
And Solana is the only chain that could actually beat Ethereum when it comes to users and DeFi. They're the only one that I see actually even has a chance. Like, I don't think it's going to be something that's going to happen, but I think if there's a chain that does pass Ethereum, it's Solana.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely taken the place of it. If you want to pick one chain that's gotten the activity, that's gotten the meme activity, the NFTs, no, but we just haven't even gotten down that far yet. You know what I mean? And so Solana definitely has replaced Ethereum for this cycle, if you want to say that we're gone through a bull type of environment in terms of activity. There's no question. And there's, BSC has challenged it, but it's really Solana has been consistent all the way through.
That's true. I forgot about BNB. BNB could definitely be one that takes over Ethereum for sure when it comes to market value, because it is number 3. But it's either BNB or SOL for sure. But speaking of Ethereum, Tom Lee actually was speaking this morning. Let's actually give a couple words from the great Tom Lee. Let me make sure you can hear this. All right, I'm play it.
There are signs of exhaustion. I did speak with Tom DeMark of DeMark Analytics, and he thinks there are signs that would look like a bottom that could be occurring sometime this week.
Matt, do you agree with Tom here?
I actually do exactly agree with Tom. I think we're nearing a bottom. I look at this as a great buying opportunity for long-term investors. Bitcoin was the first thing to turn over before this broader market pullback. It was sort of the canary in the coal mine, signaling that there was some risk in all sorts of risk on assets. I think it'll be the first thing to bottom. And I agree with Tom. We're getting very close to that point.
So you have the Bitwise CEO and you have Tom Lee both sitting there on CNBC this morning saying the bottom is in. How do you feel with that?
I mean, it's weird that we're talking about the bottom, at this point in time, but this is where we are.
Bottom, yeah.
This is where we are, right? And I think Tom Lee's going to say the right things, just like Michael Saylor's going to say the right things, right? And so I think we respect both of those people. Tom Lee's definitely been someone that's been very right about Bitcoin's price forecasting in the past. He's in a little bit of a different position, or I should say a lot different, because he's more of a representation of Ethereum and the ETH ETF, right? But look, I mean, you got him saying that he thinks the bottom's in, and he knows that's recorded, right? That's going to be recorded. So it's like, is he going to be right about that? Right? You are starting to see some life get kind of pumped a little bit back into Bitcoin right now, sitting, trying to reach 94,000. But this is very kind of the next day type of thing, in my opinion, that we're experiencing right now. Right. So it's the pendulum swinging back. We'll see how it goes for the rest of the week, and actually next week as well. It's going to be important to string, a consistent week together of positive price action for Bitcoin, Ethereum together.
I mean, this price action though, the fact that the Dow Jones is down 0.85, the S&P is down 0.86, Nasdaq is getting crushed down 1.23, and you have Bitcoin right now up 1.75. I mean, this is telling me that most people think that Tom Lee's right here and that the bottom is in, the local bottom is in. Again, Bitcoin has had 30% drops every cycle, and this is the third one. Right, we still have 3 more. We still have 3 more 30% dips ahead of us, which means we're going to go up now potentially to 180 and then drop back to 150, and then we're going to go up to 210 and then drop back to 180. We're going to see this 3 more times. It's happened every single time we see these 30% dips, and that's what people don't understand is these 30% dips are very normal, very normal. It's the third one we've seen this cycle so far, and I think the next 3 are going to be in the next 6 months.
Yeah, and I feel like people don't take that the way that you were talking just now, because we've experienced apathy almost this entire time this year, to where there hasn't been euphoria, right? And so it's like whenever that 30% dip happens, it hurts more because we haven't experienced it. And like when it happens, right? It's happening right now in November. Holidays is right here. Q4, everybody's kind of like expecting something, right? And it's just kind of like a disappointment in a way. But I agree, yeah, that historically it has happened this way, right? In terms of the pullbacks at some point, right? Different points in time. I did yesterday, I think as it was dipping lower into the lower 90s, I think we were at like 26% or something like that, but it got to 89. So, that could be that local bottom, right? To where we did hit that. And we'll see, for me, I think if that is the case, then we should get back to 100K pretty quickly, by Sunday, I think. And the start of next week should see some aggressive movement. But we'll see if he's right here.
Yeah, I actually think we potentially could have 100K by tomorrow. I think that's just the way Bitcoin moves. I mean, I think the bottom's in. You can see, look, up to about 74. And you said we haven't had euphoria. Bitcoin bulls have had euphoria. These guys have been very excited.
Who are those people? Like
They're-
TradFi, new TradFi participants, some
Yep.
maxis that have held for a while. Not,
Mhm.
I would say 95% of crypto Twitter is not in that group.
But I'm just saying, if you have Bitcoin, you felt if you're
It's not the
100%
same.
Bitcoin.
It's not the same
I'm
as the
just
previous
so I'm
cycle.
not
So
talking about crypto. I'm just talking about Bitcoin, right?
sure.
So if you look at Ethereum, we've had way more than 30% dips. But for anything to happen, right? Even back here when Bitcoin was doing its first couple moves, its first couple big moves right here. This is November of 2020. Crypto didn't start until here, right? And still here. I mean, December, January. So this is actually when Bitcoin did all this before Ethereum even hit its all-time high of 1400, right? So it's just like, so we're basically, in a sense, we're right here. So in a sense, the Bitcoin bulls, and at that point I was kind of one of them. At the time I only held Bitcoin in this. I was excited and I was laughing at the altcoin buyers. I was like, you guys are idiots. And then I was completely wrong the next year, right? So but that's kind of where we are now. It's the same thing. They're laughing at the altcoin buyers. So if we're right here, potentially we still have all this to go.
Yeah, but that's more of an aggressive downturn than that divot right there that you're talking
I don't
about
know,
back then.
but this bull run was very
look at the chart.
different. I know, but the bull run was very different. But look,
Yeah,
it's
so
still we saw 30%. So you're
I know
not
that's
seeing it
zoomed
because
out. I know that's
I'm very
zoomed
zoomed out. If I
Yeah,
zoom
I know.
in, you'll see it. You'll see these
But
big
you
wicks.
can actually, if you zoom in more, you're talking about a 2-week candle period versus you're talking
Yeah.
about a 2-week candle period versus go back to where we are today.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the difference between a super cycle and a normal cycle. So we're obviously in a super cycle. If we've been running since October 2023, and I'm telling you right now that the top could be right here, right? 2026. So the top could be right here.
Well, that's
Right.
2027.
So I mean, well, yeah. So right, November. It could be like November. It could be up here. So potentially, we could see something absolutely insane up here where we dip 2 more times, 30%. Right. I mean, it really could happen.
I like your
Not like that,
your chart art there.
No, but seriously, we could. I mean, we could
like
see something.
the apathy thing that I was talking about, I got that from Benjamin Cohen because I've always said it. Like yesterday when I was going over the 50-week SMA, I said, "Where's our peak? We haven't had our peak, right? This year, and the previous 2 cycles we've had that pretty definitive peak.
Mhm.
There was 2 of them at the same price last in 2021, and then before that in 2017 December. We haven't had that, and we definitely haven't had the euphoria from an overall broad space that we've experienced the past 2 post halving years, which is supposed to be the bull run year. So we haven't experienced that, which to your point, it can extend out into this non-traditional cycle, whether you want to call it super cycle or whatever it's going to be. But again, no one knows exactly how the future is going to play out. And but one thing that we can say is we've experienced up until today, and it's been different.
Well, in some parts, right? But these 30% dips have been very similar.
Yeah, the parts that's been different though is the euphoria in the rest of the market experiencing gains.
It depends on your time frame, though, because like I said, if we're right here,
I'm talking about the peak.
We didn't. But I'm just saying, the peak that hasn't happened. But I'm just saying, like
I know it hasn't happened. But that's my point. That's my point. Is that we haven't experienced that. If you want to go to that peak of that first hump there, that was in I believe April. So you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about here.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
We're right there.
What points do you feel like we're right there for? Like what makes you feel like we're right there?
This is the third of 6 30% dips. Okay. And this was the third of 6 30% dips.
To the previous of that time period. If you pulled before that.
Third one. Yep.
Okay. So you're saying
where
we are
here, and another one here. This was number 6. So 5. This was like the last one, obviously, but we saw 30% dips, 6 of them last cycle, and 6 of them here as well. So 6 30% dips in this cycle as well. Gotcha. And right now we're only on a third.
Yeah, I mean, I'm starting to get to the point where past historical patterns too is not necessarily playing out the same way. We'll see how it plays out.
Well, the only ones that aren't playing out is the time frame patterns, right? So
yeah, but those did play out.
Time frame.
But those did play out during the same time periods before. Obviously, 2021 is different, though.
Well,
You had two different peaks of euphoria in
yeah.
spring and in fall.
I just think we all the time, because if we enter a super cycle of a right translated cycle, same thing as a super cycle, it happens all the time in TradFi. And if we're in a right translated cycle or a super cycle, which means all your deadlines are kind of pushed back. So I think everything depends on this, though, right? So the Fed update, odds of a no cut are now 49.51. So every time I check it, it's different. So right now you're actually seeing a 25% decrease. So this tells me that nobody knows what the hell the Fed is going to do. Like, for the first time ever, we're usually 60, 40, one way or the other. The fact that we're sitting here and we're 53.47 is absolutely insane.
Yeah, it is, right? And most people anticipated a December cut. It's crazy because, like, whenever we did have the for sure cut percentages on Polymarket, like,
Yeah.
they didn't really positively affect the price. Like, it's kind of like, I feel like we got gypped here, because you're talking about like September, where everybody's like, we're definitely going to get it. And Polymarket showed 95%, 96% or whatever. Then in October, same thing. Didn't really help the price much, right? In fact, those are two really weird and months that, like, Bitcoin struggled. But yeah, in October there was this weird, like, thrust up to 126, but it was very, very minimal. And then we had the worst liquidation event in history on the 10th, right? So but then whenever we show that we might not get a cut in December, like, it's time to just dump everything. So it's just kind of, I feel like we're not getting, a fair shake here, but it is what it is. It's the market. And this could play out to where, it starts to ramp up aggressively as we get closer. We'll see. December 1st is the date that they put in the documents that the Fed is going to stop QT. And so we'll see what all that entails.
12 days away. I mean, again, I think that's why, another reason why I'm thinking that we've seen the local bottom for this dip here. So we'll see. Myself says, you guys have sacrificed for Pulse X or Prove X. Yes, I actually did. I actually did $555 or something. Not much, just a little bit to get my beak wet. I'm actually thinking about doing a little more. I don't know. Maybe I'm retarded, or crazy, but I don't know. But yeah, I actually did a little bit of money. So. But let's kind of jump into today's where is it, the price action. And I think I deleted it, but let's get into today's price action and crypto bubbles.
All right, let's do it. Before we get into the Bitcoin price action, guys, help us out on the YouTube side. Smash that like for us. Subscribe to the channel. Turn your notifications on. All that great stuff. And then on X, let's share the space. Let's get as many people in here as possible. Same thing with Abstract. Want to give a shout out to, I think it's 8045. What's up? I see you over there in the chat. And also the pump streams as well. And Rumble, Kick, all those great spots, Zora as well. But let's get into some price action, guys. Looks better today for sure on the hour chart. That is a for sure situation that is going down right now. So it looks like we are rebounding a bit, and it looks like this uptrend started at like midnight, right? Central time. U.S. Central Time here. So we had a bit of a reversal here. So this could break into like a sideways type action, and then we do an official reversal, or we could see something crazy with maybe some positive headlines to where we just kind of go straight up. Typically, there is kind of some sideways though before the direction changes, right? But you can see the stochastics is, we're hanging up here over bot territory, sitting at that 97 point mark. Pretty strong. The MACD is showing some strength as well, busting up here. That fast line looks like it's trying to go vertical. So these are good signs from the indicators that we're seeing here. So that's good. Let's kind of zoom in here a bit and see what's going on with the support and resistance, the battle between support and resistance here. And you can see the volume is just really thin though. Pretty expected. I think things are pretty slow right now, but you see the volume is thin here, but it is kind of going back to the resistance side. But yeah, honestly, I probably expect some chop for the rest of today, maybe with a little bit of some up trend possibly, because those indicate that MACD is showing strength for sure on the hour. And then you see the support catching down here at the 93 $100,000 mark. Pretty good dominance here. And then yeah, so you go to the area where the most volume is in this whole kind of price range here, and 92.7, and support is also kind of kicking in there. So looking good for the hour chart for sure. The 4 hour is probably going to just, you know, probably, yeah, it's just getting started, right? So this is an interesting situation we're in here as well, because, you know, we did go into this really weak buy pressure after kind of just selling down aggressively here, and then really weak buy pressure to have kind of it flip really quick. It's kind of a weird situation. So we might have, you know, something to where we go into some strong buy pressure. That would be nice, right? But you can see, you know, we have a consistent, this is the third candle on the 4 hour chart. So it's looking decent here. The stochastics is heading and touching that overbought territory. So probably want to park up here for a bit and see if we can get some buy pressure momentum, right? We've been kind of beat up this entire you know, first couple of days and over the weekend, and so we'll see if we can turn that momentum around. See if Tom Lee's right. You know, the local bottom possibly is in, and if that's the case, we could get back to that $100,000 mark pretty quickly. Let's look at the daily chart. That is something that I always, when in doubt, zoom out and go to start at the daily, right? So it's starting to break down. The sell pressure on the daily starting to break down a little bit. We had a very kind of similar to that 4 hour chart, very weak buy pressure whenever it did flip. So you see a lot of sell pressure all through here, really starting going back from to that liquidation day, right? You see the 10th of October, and we haven't had any strong buy pressure on the daily chart really for Bitcoin, right? So it could be coming close to time to flip the script a bit, right? That doesn't mean it's, you know, for sure type of situation. We got to break this down first, and it looks like we're trying to do that here. We'll see if we can have some momentum, because that could definitely help us get into a buy pressure session, and that's what we, you know, that would really kind of make me feel good about Bitcoin if we can start that on the daily chart in an aggressive way, not this weak sauce that we had back here in the at the end of October. So needed to have continual breakdown here. See, we got faked out here, but man, like to get faked out twice, I don't know. I mean, it could happen, but I think probably the odds are in our favor to the upside if that, you know, if we truly start to see a breakdown here. So I like where we are, you know, starting off kind of breaking this down, but we need to see some more aggressive push to the upside. Ethereum looks good, looks really strong here on the hour chart. Even stronger than Bitcoin here. You can see, you know, the MACD looks like it's, you know, really wanting to have this aggressive push to the upside, you know, be continuous here. Same thing with these stochastics. We've been here for, you know, since 2 a.m., right? So we've been hanging out here for a bit. So ETH looks good on the hour chart as well. It's a little bit better almost than Bitcoin. And then you can see same situation, had such a, you know, weak buy pressure session here, and then it did flip really quick. So we could see, you know, this start something to, you know, continually break out here, because we're sitting at 3140. You know, you got to remember we were at 5,000 at one point, I think early August, right? So you know, we've definitely pulled back significantly, and if this is the local bottom for Bitcoin, is, in my opinion, it's going to be the local bottom for Ethereum as well. So ETH looking good on that 4 hour as well. Going to the daily, very similar situation. Looks even better than Bitcoin situation, because it looks like it wants to actually close up a little bit sooner. So we'll see if that happens. That would be amazing if ETH kind of front ran Bitcoin a bit, then we can see some of these alts start to thrive a bit more. But yeah, so that's Bitcoin, Ethereum for you guys. And you look at the crypto bubbles here, you're seeing Zcash in the red still here, down 12%, sitting at $600. So was Zcash the kind of well play, the cabal will kind of all of them get together and pour into Zcash and pump this privacy meta? Because you see Zcash pulling back 12% here, Dash pulling back 6%. What do you think? I know that you recently you know, have been interested in Zcash a little bit more. Do you think there's a big bounce back from this, or do you think people are going to continually sell this down?
Well, think about it for a second. Think about, like, let's just say you were in Zcash at, like, you know, $150, $200. You're up almost 3-4x when you hit $700, or you're up a lot. I think what a lot of people are doing, they're just taking profit, and they're seeing a lot of these altcoins really beaten down, right? And they're taking that profit, and they're actually getting into assets that could, again, do another 150x, so or 150%. I see that's kind of what's happening. I just think profits being taken, and if you don't take profit on something that has ran 300%, 400%, 500%, depending on how low you got in, you're just not playing the game right. And a lot of these traders got into this and they're taking profit on this, and they're now, and that's kind of why I think the rest of the market's green. I think a lot of money is heading from a lot of these privacy coins into stuff that's really beaten down right now, like DeFi.
Yeah, the broader markets. You're absolutely right. And it's not even necessarily like being a trader by nature. It's just this is how this market is being, like, this is how you got to play this specific market this year, all right, this cycle. Yep. And so you're absolutely right in that aspect. And it is flowing these profits into the broader space, right? And you take that because you want to make more, because you feel like some of these are going to go up and you'll take profits from some of these, right? So that's kind of the move here. And you see some of these, majors, I would call them majors because there's top 100, right? You got Wilfi up 6% here. Aster having a huge rebound here, $1.34. That is significant for Aster. Aster has been getting its Aster kicked the past, I would say, you could say even the past month, right? After, CZ shielded and everybody bought into it and some people made a lot of money. And then all of a sudden the downtrend just really became overwhelming and people kind of felt like, oh, can we get back over $1, right? We're sitting at $1.34. So this is definitely a rebound for Aster. So, for you guys that were holding Aster stressed out, glad that you were either able to exit. And if you're still holding, who knows? I mean, Aster's going to probably remain in that top, 75. It's at 38 right now, right? So it's definitely has strength in terms of the market cap. And then you see some other stuff like Pump rebounding 2.5%. And that's pretty significant for Pump, as Pump has had a lot of bad PR, in my opinion, recently. You see ICP, shout out to Mo. ICP says, Mo, ICP reposted the stream. Well, you got ICP up 4.6% here. So congrats to you and the ICP community out there. Tau rebounding 2.8%. So Tau is one that we talk about a lot on the show because we're both pretty bullish on the future of Tau, but it's gotten back to $332. So it is rebounding slowly here. And, I agree with you. I think that, Tau has a big future. Tokenomics are going to get really bullish here soon with their halving, and they have the same supply as Bitcoin in terms of total, supply, total max supply at 21 million. So a lot of stuff going on with Tau there. You got Curve bouncing back 4.5%. BNB back to up 2.6%. So I'd like to see this cross back over $1,000. I feel like that would be a significant kind of, okay, that's a good win for the space because now BNB is back over that $1,000 mark. But yeah, you did mention to me that some of these alts were showing strength, and I'm starting to realize it more as I'm going through the bubbles here. Solana rebounding 4% here, back to 141. You see, Aptos up 2.2%, Aave up 1.5%. So not huge percentage gains if you do an average. You're looking at 2 to 5% on average, but some that stick out like the Asters, like this FET coin here up 11.5% and stuff like that. And so hopefully this is kind of just a start and we start to see some more bullish price action as well. Let's go to the top 200 here. In the top 200, you got XPL. Which has kind of gotten beaten up a bit, right? This is Plasma. This is the Tether backed chain main gas coin here. I think it's the gas coin, right? Or is it governance?
Yeah, no, it's gas.
Okay, gas and governance. Okay, cool. So you have the XPL rebounding 18% there. Falcon Finance up 8.5%. Some of the coins that pulled back though, you see Hex pulling back 9%, Pulse X pulling back 7.4%, and Pulse pulling back 5.7%.
Is his baby now. He doesn't give a shit about his old stuff. He just cares about his new one.
But I don't think that's a healthy kind of perspective for people to have about him. I think it's more, like what you mentioned last week, is that people probably, are getting out of some of this and trying to sacrifice. Yeah, putting what is it? ETH? He's taking ETH?
Take anything besides like the pulse chain
anything
stuff.
Besides these three. So they're like, okay,
seriously,
well, I'll just sell this down, and one of the things you accept there, right? So, yeah, so pulling back there, but most of everything in the top 200, 100, and 200 has rebounded. It's a little bit less than the top 100, but you got to start there at the top 100, and then you start to see some of this other stuff pull back up. You see Merle up 2.2% there. Just been super solid and strong the entire time. It's like, if the market's crashing, it's just holding up strong. If it's going up, it's kind of saying, okay, we'll chill and see, you know, how this plays out in terms of like the overall sentiment. So that's Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the overall market. You got Stan that says H bar. Let me pull H bar up for you, Stan. So Hedera sitting at you know, the 21st largest market cap, and it is up on the it's down on the day 0.5%, but that's not much, right? So it is kind of, you know, barely down. I imagine it will catch up with some of these other ones.
Yeah, and you have to remember this entire market right now is PvP. Until we enter a liquidity environment, I feel like it's PvP. So that's why you're kind of seeing stuff like Zcash and all these other ones kind of really run and then pull back, you know, and it's not a drastic pullback, 10, 15%, 20%. That's not drastic at all. That's profit taking. I think there's a lot of people that are still bullish on this. I just think that, you know, that it's, I mean, if you're seeing Solana at $130 and you're like, oh, where can I get cash at? Well, the only thing I'm up on is Zcash, right? So I got to take profit from there. Otherwise, I'm just selling. You know, I'm just selling into red. And you sell green. Smart traders don't sell red, right? So, but let's kind of get in today's roll call where we take the first comment of the day and we put that on a spreadsheet. Congratulations to the great Webdro. You have win number 57 on the year. Congratulations to you, my friend. It does look like you're going to win the frog, so absolutely awesome. Congratulations to every single person who makes a roll call each and every day for sure. But let's see the rest of the roll call. Webdro said, noticed on a Bitcoin 3-month chart or 3-minute chart that there's been a pattern repeating since, okay, that's the monthly chart, repeating since 2023. 2 green candles, 1 red on the monthly. Do you see that?
Oh, he said the 3-month.
Monthly.
He's saying the 3-month chart.
Oh, 3-month
so
chart. Okay.
Yeah, there's a 3-month chart. Let me pull it up here.
I got it right here.
Okay, yeah. So if you pull that up, he said
2 green, 1 red. 2 green, 1 red. He's right. 2 green, 1 red. So we should see 2 green.
You just made my quarter.
Bro.
You just made my quarter, Webdro. I like Webdro. At this point, you're a part of the team, brother. Like, just, you know what I mean. Keep putting your insights in the chat because it's definitely helping me.
100%, dude. He's right, dude. Look, it's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah. And now I will say that this red is like a giga whale red or giga.
But
like,
every time though, it's doubled, right? So if we double the size of the red, so yeah.
True. So like
when does this end?
Yeah. So well. Yeah. When does this end? When does this end? That's a good question. And also, it's like, I'm glad he pulled this up because, like, at this point, it's almost like you just want to find some you know, some conviction things that give you conviction. We have the DXY, and now we have the 3-month chart that I've probably pulled up for the first time just now.
That was definitely my first time for sure. I look at the monthly, never the 3 months, which is kind of why are you looking at that chart, Webdro? I mean,
because he found something.
How did you? Merlin's Lucky is here. Why How Loop is here. Shout out to you, my friend. Bitcoin is truth. Abstract. Chips and dip. Wow, this chat is really bearish, guys. Satoshi Nakamoto says 90K bottom. Okay, that's bullish. Spindrift is here. Vader Time is here with a UG. K99 said, what's up? What's up, K99? We got the Dow, Ryan Bolin, Patty Poo, Cash Cats, my guy with the coffee and the donuts and the dog. Go to the moon. Shout out to Cash Cats, the legendary one. We got Vin Man is here. Paula, thank you for coming in here. Really appreciate you, Paula. We got Mo ICP here. Stan, Malam Yuri. Are Runes still holding strong? I think Runes, no, Runes are big. Well, I'm not even gonna lie to you, buddy.
well. I mean, Odin runes are holding strong, and
yeah,
$1 billion cats.
4.5.
Okay, so I guess the 9 million doesn't count on Odin. Okay, so dog is over 100 million. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, for sure. Paula is here. Shout out to Paula again. Webdro finishing us off. He said, if in doubt, zoom out. Yeah, just keep zooming out.
Love you, Webdro. I love you, man. You're definitely saving me. Saving my mental health, that's for sure.
For sure, for sure. All right, let's get into our next segment here. So today we're lucky enough to talk with the guys over at America.Fun. We're going to get in with Ogle. We're going to get in depth of what is going on. What are they building? And it is kind of nice, though, I'm not going to lie, that there is some launch pads out there that are, actually doing something different. I'm tired of the same old crap there. It's just kind of wrecking the people over and over and over. And the only one who wins is the coin deployers. And they're doing something differently at America.Fun. They're actually, I don't know, is it a KYC type of thing for the coin deployers? I'm excited for this, though.
Yeah. I'm not sure it's a full blown KYC, but you do fill out the Google form, right?
Mhm.
And I think it's just kind of having a safe place, a safe haven right now, right? And I know they have plans on how they're gonna, have a decentralized approach, but we'll get into that when we bring Ogle up.
All right. So without further ado, let's bring them up. Oh, welcome back to OnChain Revolution. Thanks for being here, man.
Oh, we got you on mute.
Okay, and you guys hear me okay now?
Good to go.
All right,
How are you
Good
doing?
deal. Doing okay, man. I just living my best life at the moment. The markets aren't great, as you guys were talking about, but I mean, on average, the world's okay, and we're going the right direction. So if you zoom out, like someone said a few minutes ago, if you zoom out a little bit, I think you'll be just fine.
Yeah, for sure. I think this year, and I've had just private conversation with you before getting you on here, and I know that you have experience in the space. So it is different this cycle than previous cycles. But I'd love for you to maybe give our audience, as far as back as you want in terms of your experience in the space leading up to America.Fun, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, sure. So I came into the space in late 2012, very late 2012, and kind of got a little more headfirst in very beginning of 2013. I worked on some stuff during that time, including a white paper for a blockchain that later was created. And I started a couple of companies in the crypto space in 2014. They were small. One of them was shut down relatively quickly. It was kind of successful, but shut down relatively quickly because I'd never heard of the phrase KYC before, turns out. And that's important for some things. And so did that for a little bit. In the meantime, I've run Web2 companies. I've built and sold Web2 businesses. They're kind of sizable tech companies. And took a little bit of a break, came back in 2016, went pretty aggressive in the ICO space for a while, as many people did. Took a little bit of a break, kind of retired, quote unquote, and then came back in 2020 or so and went head first again. I started a chain during that time and spent 3.5 years working on that. We finally deployed that live earlier this year. And then the past, 3.5 months or so, I've been working on this thing, America.Fun. In the meantime, like if anyone's ever seen me, they've probably, almost certainly, like the place they've seen me like on podcasts or on stage is going to be around hack security related stuff. So a long time ago, I used to be a white hat hacker, they called it. And so basically what that means is you find bad guys that are doing things and you try to like sort of hack them back and fix the problems that black hat hackers are committing. And so in the crypto space, what that looks like mostly is theft of funds, right? So you have exploits and you have other sorts of situations where you have theft of funds from users. And so I've spent considerable time and effort, pro bono, by the way, working on that kind of stuff for a long time. And I've helped get back about $550 million of funds that were stolen over the past couple of years. And there's actually a documentary out now called Code is Law. You guys may or may not have seen it so far. It just came out recently, but it's in different theaters and it's also streaming on on Amazon and on Google and so forth. But that's about some of the hacks and in there for 20 or 30 minutes, I speak about different recovery methods and that sort of thing. I'm also on the cover, by the way, so you may recognize this face, this beautiful face right here.
Well, I mean, I think that's super commendable to put your skill set into retrieving money back. That's not something that, a ton of people even seem to worry too much about, but I think we need that. We need more of that in the space. But, we tried to explain America.Fun to our audience, but maybe we got some of that wrong. But could you kind of at a high level, explain what you guys are trying to do with the launch pad there?
So I think that like zooming out, there's a problem. And then the problem is essentially that most of the launch pads are net extractive. That is to say that like most people who come into the situation, into a purchase or into a coin, most of them lose. And so you end up having two winners really. And one is the platform and the other is the person who is creating the token. and you have 40,000 losers in that scenario. And I think that's not really a great thing in general. It's not sustainable. You end up running dry. People run out of money to lose. And whenever you go to the casino, you kind of expect there to be certain kinds of rules set up and regulations that the state puts in place or whatever the case might be that keep you from being completely screwed by the casino. So at least you have a little bit of a chance. The situation right now in the landscape is not that, though. The situation right now, if you look at the landscape of launch pads, it's more like you go to like a basement, gambling parlor that's totally illegal, totally off the books. If you have a problem with it, you either shoot somebody or get shot. It's really, there is nothing there to kind of protect you whatsoever. And so you're really you're walking into, into quite a bad situation if you're not prepared. And most people aren't prepared. And so what we're trying to do with this situation, not saying we're trying to create a casino, but I'm trying to create a situation where there are rules, there are regulations, there are boundaries, there is some friction in place for everything, such that people can play the game and they have a little bit, maybe a lot better chance of winning, but more importantly, they have a much lower chance of getting shot. Like that's what I'm trying to prevent, is that you can come out alive if you do things at least sort of right, and you can live to play another game. So that's where it's at.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like some places here in Philly. I'm not gonna lie about that, but 100%. So yeah, I definitely get it. It's like some of these machines is like you go to Pump Fund, for instance. I feel like you put $100 in and it's gone, right? It's just I'll throw $100 and it's gone, and eventually you just give up and walk away, and you're like, okay, that was fun, or was it, right? You don't even know if you actually even had fun doing it because it was so crappy. So you guys are giving the users an opportunity to actually not get dumped on constantly. How are you guys doing that with America.Fun? What is the solution to that problem?
So I think there's a lot of solutions to it. I'm going to not say all of them out loud because it turns out that several of the ones I've written in my posts have been taken by competitors already. So for example, I talked at length about this one ticker solution. So you would have one ticker that has to be sort of like the first person to get the ticker gets the ticker. But if it doesn't graduate and doesn't get to a certain point, then the ticker is relinquished, and the money goes back into whoever the next ticker created goes until you find a winner. So it could be iterative 6, 7, 10 times until you find one that is actually a winner, is not a scam. This was taken by 4meme about a month later, and I've seen, I've heard that some other people kind of like the idea too. And there's a whole bunch of these sorts of things, but I would say that a lot of it comes into how exactly the stuff is deployed. And we can put limitations on what that looks like. We can put limitations on how much of the token the deployer gets and when. So as an example, well, actually, I can't give an example because we have this like pretty innovative thing. But the long and short of it will be, if someone deploys a token and it doesn't perform as well as they ought to, they won't have the ability to dump on everybody because they simply don't have access to do so. And so there's lots of these sorts of safety measures. We also put friction in the front of it in the form of a cost. So we have a token called the AOL token. And the idea basically there is, if there's a cost, and it's a significant cost, we used to say it was going to be like $20, but I think it's going to be like quite a lot higher now for various reasons. So probably a couple $100. But if you deploy, you have a cost in. And so you already sort of have bought into the fact that as a deployer, I need to actually make this thing work a little bit. Now, to be fair, many of the deploys that go out there on Pump Fund, you have bots that launch 1,000 of these a day and they make $250 each time. What I'm trying to do is put that at a level where the likelihood of that arbitrage or that theft is going to be, the return on that is going to be lower than the cost to go in the first place. Ergo, you wouldn't want to do it, right? So we're going to figure out what that number is, and that's probably what the cost is going to end up being. Is what is the typical amount that is extracted and screwed on people. This is for the sort of what you might call the permissionless side. On the permission side, which is what we've done so far, we've had 3 launches so far, 3 curated launches. All of them have gone into the millions of dollars. 0 of them have like not performed. We actually get criticism. It's kind of fascinating. We've gotten a good bit of criticism. People say, "Oh, you need to really focus on this stuff. It hasn't worked very well." I say every single one of these tokens has gone into the millions of dollars. What do you mean it hasn't worked well? I mean, this is textbook working well. Whenever you compare like the number of launches that happen on Pump, for example, which are 10,000, 100,000 a day, whatever it is these days, and like 4 of them graduate to the point of being millions of dollars, and maybe another 100 of them graduate to 250 and then they get rogued. It just doesn't make sense. So when you have pretty much 100% chance that this thing's going to do something, then you also, in that case, are incentivizing the creators, who we do a lot of due diligence on, to actually stick with it and focus on it and actually try and make this into something. What I've told to these creators, some of these creators are pretty significant guys. I say to them, I say, look, I know you have a system here. I get it. You launch a token, you make 300K, and then you move on to the next one. I get it, and that's fine. And I think that works in a certain world. We're not in the liquidity world where that actually is going to work for a long time. It's too extractive. And so I think that the better case here, and what we try to show to them, and what we did, in fact, for the Valor team, which is a fantastic team, we said, stick with it, please. Just don't do, like whatever your methods are normally, stick with it, focus, and see where we can get with this thing. And we got to $17.5 million on the first run. And hopefully there's going to be another solid run coming. In fact, I'm going to be speaking at Solana Skyline, the Solana headquarters here soon, in about 4 days. And the topic of conversation on my side will be about Valor as a proof of concept of what can happen when you have good teams who know how to make stuff happen, back off a little bit of the extraction, and let people actually play the game a little bit. So anyway, many things, Shizzy, to answer your question, but also I didn't answer your question entirely because I just simply can't say some of the stuff. But the TLDR here is that the sole purpose is to have a little bit safer of a playground for people to play in.
Yeah. Well, what's your goal? What's your end goal? Is your end goal to bring a complete new audience to Solana? Or is it to change the culture of the mindset that is currently there? Because that culture is what you just talked about with the volume of launches and all that stuff. It's very much more about like PvP. So I'm curious of what the end goal is here.
Yeah, it's really both. So the first, like, I want to change the way people look at this stuff, because there's kind of, people have developed mental models as to what certain things mean. So they have muscle memory, like, oh shoot, this thing, the deployers have 60% of the tokens. This means it's bundled. This means it's bad. And the reality is not that, in my opinion. The reality is there's a bit of a spectrum. I've kind of thought about this recently. So if you have a good team and bad supply control, you have a bad outcome. If you have a bad team, bad supply control, bad outcome. Bad team, good supply control, bad outcome. Good team, good supply control, good outcome. And so you just have to have a trustworthy, good team that can hold things down, that can get the money to put into a chart whenever it's needed, to make sure people are supported, to give them exit liquidity. That combined with the ethics, and the ethics plus the money basically is what actually ends up with a good outcome here. And so when people have this mental model of, oh shoot, this thing is, quote unquote bundled, they've got 50%, 60%. You know what else has 60%, 80%, 90%? Literally every company in the world. Every single token that doesn't get deployed on a launchpad has 100% of it. And then they choose to give 5% to VCs, 7% to insiders, 6% to whatever. And then they end up with 80% left or 70% left, or wherever the case is. The only place where this mental model takes place, where people say it's a bad thing for the company to control their own supply, is in launchpads. Why? Because they've been taught this by exploitative bastards who do this stuff for a living, who exploit and harm people for a living. So what we're trying to say is, look, it doesn't have to be that way. It's actually good, but you have to have the right kind of team there to make that work.
Interesting. Yeah, 100%. It almost feels like what you guys are building is kind of, you're kind of taking like the old school launch pads from 2020 and stuff like that, and then taking the new school launch pads like Pump and actually kind of mix them together. So I guess my question here is, does like something like Valor have any opportunity to kind of becoming a meme coin and actually maybe eventually becoming like a utility coin, or are you guys just focused on meme coins here?
So one of the things we do offer to the people who are launching on the platform, especially if they're going down the curated route, or if they reach certain levels on the uncurated route, is access to centralized exchanges, access to big market makers like the ones like GSR, which like the big boys, access to all the people we've had Solana Foundation, as I said a moment ago. They've interacted with our stuff related to Valor before. We have serious KOLs that come involved and say, we put my stamp of approval on this. People who you've definitely heard of. That's what we offer them. Now, what they do with that is up to them. But what I encourage is getting integrated into the DeFi landscape, right? So, and if they want to, we can. So you want to have an intro to Camino, or want to have an intro to PERT platform, you want to have an intro to these kind of guys, not a problem at all. Get above a certain level, get to 10 million bucks, then we introduce you to a PERT platform. Get above 25 million, we introduce you to a bigger one. Get to this level, we introduce you to lending and borrowing platforms. And it starts to build itself up. And that's how Bonk worked originally. That's why I invested. I mean, I'm a very big investor in Bonk, and that's why I invested originally in Bonk in the first place, is because I said, okay, these guys are making a meme, yeah, sure, but they're making a meme that is giving that has collaboration with 30 of the major builders on Solana. So you had Orca at that point, which was kind of the biggest exchange. You had all these different players. I said, okay, this is going to be big, not just because it's a meme, but also it has actually a point. I can borrow against my bonk. Like, how cool is that? Like, that's really cool stuff. So we're going to give them the opportunity. Not everyone's going to want to do that. Not everyone, is going to think that's interesting. But for those who do, I think that there's interesting places to go. Now, on the other side, we actually have utilities that are launching. Like, we have a very, very, very interesting one. I won't say what it is, but we have a very interesting politically oriented launch coming up sometime soon. And it's very big. It's national news headline, kind of a political thing that's going on. And we talked to the team last week. They're well funded, they're serious, and they're doing this with a utility in mind. Like, it's a meme, yes, it's meant to be a meme and get big. But the purpose for them is actually utility, and they want to give utility to the users whenever they launch too. We have this kind of stuff coming too. We have a game coming very soon, like in the next, not long, a game coming soon. And so in that case, then the token will be a utility token also. So it's not just memes that are coming out; it's all kinds of different stuff. But what we've had so far is 2 regular memes, Burger and Valor, and then we had Patriot, which is the LP fees for that. 100% of those go toward basically veteran contributions. Now, the issue with Patriot we've had is, well, I can't go into too much detail because there's some modifications happening, but the basic issue with Patriot we had is that the team underestimated the amount of work that was going to go into to basically the launch. And this is something that it should have been caught on our side ahead of time. I implore my team to be very heavily focused on that kind of thing. Didn't quite work out this time, and so we'll figure out what to do next with that. We're not going to let it die. It's made $55,000 for veterans already. I hope it makes another $155,000. But what it might look like is basically a pivot of the token, a relaunch or something like that. I don't know what it's going to be, but we're going to do something to make sure that actually works out. On the Valor side, it's crushed, like I said a few minutes ago. On the Burger side, we had a really lovely CTO that's doing really well too. So the market generally sucks right now, but I think overall, if you were to have invested in any of the tokens that came through our front door, because of the diligence we're doing, they're all doing fine right now.
So, yeah, and I for one thinks that the space needs this kind of approach. Shizzy and me kind of debated a little bit. He thinks that the centralized approach is hard to have success with, but you guys are saying you're going to have more of a freely kind of launched mechanism coming. There's going to be friction to kind of make it still have that safe approach. When do you think that would be kind of going live? Is that something that's in Q4 or next year? What are you thinking?
It's Q4 almost certainly. I mean, we're in QA. We've been in QA now for a period of time. We're testing out staking right now. So staking of the AOL token. What staking of the AOL token does, by the way, is it gets LP rewards. So since AOL's been out, since America.Fun has been out, we've only done 3 launches, but we made hundreds of thousands of dollars in LP fees, significantly more than almost any other platform, including much bigger ones, because of the way that this trading is done, because these are quality, they're very active trading platforms, trading tokens. So we're going to be passing those back to the people at AOL, but we're also going to be giving the AOL people chances to vote on what where the money goes, what happens on the platform, this kind of stuff, what I'm calling amendments. So we're going to have our white paper, AKA the Constitution, and then we're going to have amendments that people can vote for with their AOL token. And that, that's going to give them that optionality. Now, the permissionless side of things is certainly going to be riskier. There's no doubt about it. And I think that, we have to be really clear about that. You're taking a much bigger gamble playing with those than you are other ones. But at least we do put the friction on the front side. The front end of our website is permissioned, right? So in that case, we're not going to have like slur words, tokens on the front page. We're not going to have, we're not going to have any of that nonsense. But people on the back end, they theoretically, because that's just how permissionless world works, they could essentially do whatever they want to. What we're trying to give people the opportunity here, Yagobi, is they have the ability to actually launch something however they please. The users have the ability to invest whatever they please, but they do have the safeguards. And so we're not requiring that they put the training wheels on, but we're letting them if they want to.
Yeah, it actually makes sense. Because like as a platform, you got to try to find a way to avoid that. As in crypto, we got to try to way to avoid it. We can't have like this type of stuff, and we're looked at really terrible when this stuff happens. But there's nothing we can do about it, right? So, but in your case, you guys are actually doing something about it, which I kind of like. I kind of like that. I mean, I love decentralization and stuff like that. But to a point, we got to try to find ways to avoid that type of stuff. We can't have it. We can't have it here. Because I mean that's not good. Bringing more people in.
Yeah,
I love
Ogle.
decentralization too, Shizzy. It's I mean, like I said, I've been in since late 2012. The whole point was essentially to get away from centralized situations that caused 2009 collapse. That was sort of the point. I think about decentralization and like the application of it in various different platforms. And I think that it isn't a dogma for me, though. I mean, I like it, and I think it's the right thing for certain situations, but I'm not dogmatic about it. So I think about circumstances like if I were to go visit you guys, I don't know where you live, but let's say you live in, Texas or something. If I were to go to Texas, where I don't live, and we were to all hang out together, all five boys going out, having a good time, but Shizzy, you live in Texas, I don't think we need to vote on like which restaurant we go to. Probably you know the best. You live there, you're in the town, you know the places that are good, and we're gonna say, hey boys, you want barbecue or you want pizza? We say pizza, you say, okay, this is the spot. We don't need to sit there and have a consensus mechanism that decides what exactly we do that day, right? So there's ways that make sense where decentralized is the right way, and other ones I think a centralized authority figure like yourself and Austin Food, assuming you, I'm not saying you live there because I have no idea, but just a guess, then that's we would lean on you. And so I think that we have to, at least in my case, I try to step back and say, is this actually right for decentralization or is it not? In the case of Launchpad, I think it is, and I think it's not. And so we try to, accommodate for both.
Yeah. Do you think this is how we get the true retail mass adoption into memes, like these in a decentralized environment, right? Not through Coinbase or anything, because I'll tell you, the pump fund mechanism and all these mechanisms really killed off a lot of retail that were just discouraged. And now you have pretty much like a certain group of addicted people that are on crypto Twitter that are constantly going back in, deployers and stuff like this. Do you feel like your strategy is the strategy to get those retail users trust back?
I really do. I think that if we can get a chance with some of these people, I think the experience that they have, especially once our full site launches in the next couple of weeks, I think we're going to be able to convince some people that there is actually some hope here. Like you can have fun without losing your house. It's possible. I hate the idea, just as someone who's been in crypto for forever, it drives me insane that we finally convince people to get online, like to get into crypto, and then we screw them all. So then how do they see this? Like this is so screwed. Like we worked so hard, 10, 15 years to get people to actually try, just press the button, go through the effort, get online. They get on there, and then 30 seconds later, they get, they lose everything they've ever had. It's crazy. Like, and it's so short-sighted. But what it is no one cares, right? Because these are people who, in fact, usually weren't around for a long time and don't really care about the longevity of the ecosystem itself. They just care about making a bunch of money. And I can't really begrudge someone that this is the market. But I do think that you can fight against it by giving other people opportunities inside the market too to have a different experience. And that's kind of what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, 100%. It feels like everyone's like, well, I was burnt before, so I'm just going to keep doing the same behavior to burn the next guy, when that's not how mass adoption works, right?
Shizzy, there were some hackers a while back. There were some hackers a while back that I ended up finding out who they were, and I kind of tracked them down, and there were these young guys out of Hong Kong. They ended up getting arrested because they were hard-headed, but one of them didn't get arrested. He kind of got off, and he messaged me about a month later. This was like 2 years ago. He messaged me about a month later, and he said, hey, I just want to say that I appreciate the humanity that you brought us during that process. My friends are in jail. I'm not. I got away, and I'm not going to tell you where I'm at, but I appreciate the humanity you gave us because I spent a lot of time trying to be like, guys, you don't have to ruin your life, whatever. So we got into a conversation, and I said, why did you do it? You're talking to me right now like a super rational kid. Like you're very smart. You seem like you have ethical standards that are like in line with decency. Why did you do it? And to your point, he said, because it happened to me over and over and over again. And when I went to try and get it solved by these centralized exchanges, I tried to get it solved by the bridges that wouldn't stop. Nobody was there to help me. I don't even get a reply. I get banned from the groups. So I said, you know what? The only way I'm going to make it back is do it to other people. And so I think it's exactly that. No.
Yeah, that's a great point. Great point. Well, there's also one other aspect, and I think people on X that follow you know that you have the background of being an advisor to WillFi, and then you have USD1 that's being kind of, hey, look, we want to pair our tokens with USD1, and I know there's certain things that you can't get into with that, but is there anything that you could talk about why you want to go with USD1 and maybe anything in the future with it?
Yeah. So as far as I know, we're the only launchpad that is specifically focused on USD1 on Solana. There is another one run by a guy called Matt. He's also an advisor, and that's called Block. That's on Ethereum, and I think it's on BNB as well. But on Solana, the only one that exists that is specifically focused on USD1 is ours. Now there are other chains. there are other launchpads that also do USD1. So they, as like an option, or they sort of are the official one. For example, Bonk is like the official launchpad of USD1, quote unquote. But their focus is not just specifically on that, whereas ours is. I think that's since July, when I first started going down this road, before USD1 was even deployed on Solana, I said, okay, there are going to be net new people coming online because of World Liberty Finance, which, as you said, I'm an advisor to on the security side for a year and a half now. Well, I guess, a while now, a long time now. Anyway, so there's going to be a lot of new people coming on board via World Liberty Finance, is my opinion. When those people come on board, they need to be safe as possible so that we don't screw them. These are going to maybe be like kind of a little more regular folks than we're used to seeing, a little less technically savvy people that we're used to seeing. And they're going to make their way into the ecosystem of crypto outside of World Liberty Finance at first. So World Liberty Finance is probably going to be awesome. Like the program, the app that comes from that, I'm sure it's going to be amazing. There's going to be a chunk of those people who venture out there. And those people are going to be at that point very familiar with USD1 and with the World Liberty Finance ecosystem. I'd like to have a home for those people to get to where they don't have a vastly dissimilar safety experience than they would have on something like a World Liberty. So these are not people who are going to have like their, because they've come in via a circumstance that's very safe and secure and whatnot, like World Liberty Finance probably will be. They're not going to have their radars, kind of like blaring whenever they get into the other parts of the space. And I don't think they should have to. And so I want to have an onboard essentially that's like that, first off. Secondly, I think USD1 itself, because of various number of reasons that are probably not appropriate for the podcast, I think it's actually going to be like the future of stablecoins. And I think that the more we can show people that, the more we can get that in the hands of people now before it actually truly takes off, I actually think it's going to be better off for everyone. And then three, I'm a vested, frankly speaking, I'm invested in both the World Liberty Finance ecosystem and in the Bonk ecosystem. These are two things that I would like to do well for my own personal reasons. And so it seems to make sense that I would try to make an ecosystem, try to make a launchpad that would enhance or make those things better.
Yeah, I'm definitely starting to get the full picture now. You obviously, you're somebody who had a background in, security and stuff like that. WillFi even seen that in you, and they're like, yeah, we want this guy to be an advisor. And then you created basically a security version of, a very safe place to do degen stuff on. So you saw an area that was really messed up, and you're like, you know what? Let me take my security background. Let me try to make something here that's actually can be long lasting, but at the same time, people can make money, have fun, be the 2017, ICO phase all over again type thing. I feel like we just went full circle here, especially with your background. But yeah, I'm definitely seeing it now. So that's one thing that's awesome.
I'm glad you do. Yeah. By the way, it's not just a launchpad. Like there's a whole bunch of other stuff coming, but the launchpad is the entry point. We've already built a whole bunch of stuff on the back end. It's once I really tell the story and try to get it across, America is the greatest meme that's ever existed, I think. Like there's no greater meme than America. And if you think whenever, Taco Bell token comes out, whenever 250 comes out for the 250th anniversary, whenever, of America itself, whenever anything related to America comes out, which is frankly the majority of the great memes, where should it live but America.Fun? It just makes sense. And so I want there to be a home where the greatest meme is able to spawn the greatest memes, and those uphold the values and ethos of America itself.
Love it, man.
Makes a lot of sense to me. Go ahead.
Yeah, 100%. I just want to talk about the site a little bit. So you guys definitely went the AOL route. It definitely feels like, America Online or, your token. But explain to me the thought process behind kind of going old school here with your website and everything.
Yeah, so originally we had actually called the original token America Online, and then it turns out maybe that's not very wise. And so so we kind of pulled back. But the idea with AOL, a lot of people are going to be too young to know this, but look at that value chart. It looks beautiful. So the idea behind AOL is back in the day, in the late 90s and early 2000s, was to have a walled garden, basically. So to have like a Disney kind of a situation for people. So they could go online, they could browse the web, they could check their emails, they could chat with people, they could do all this kind of stuff. But it was inside of confines that AOL themselves determined. And I'm trying to create a similar situation for the whole DeFi ecosystem here, not just the Launchpad. Like I said, it's a whole bunch of stuff. Swap 2, we already have made. We have a whole bunch of stuff you'll see on V2 that's kind of wild. But I want to give people access to all those basic things they want. Email, chat, blah, 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 like they had in AOL. But in our case, you have swaps, you have perks, you have Launchpad, you have all these sorts of things. I want you to voting. You have all these things. I want you to have the access to that, but with the guardrails, just like AOL did. And I think if you look back at history, if anyone wants to look into the history of what exactly got people online in the late 90s, it wasn't down, like getting a Linux distribution and putting it on their mainframe and then doing PPP login to a server. That's not what it was. It was getting Windows onto a compact Presario that had AOL preloaded and clicking 3 buttons and being on the internet. That's how it worked. And that's what millions and millions of people used to get online. And that's what kept them there too, because every day they had reinforcement mechanisms. In our case, for example, if you have the AOL token and you're getting distributions every day, you got to come every day to get them. And if you don't come every day, it gets wiped. So we're trying to create some user behaviors here that get you coming in every single day. We'll have a lot of other kind of feedback, visual, auditory feedback, that kind of thing, to let people feel like they're safe, secure, but they also have a reason to be there. And so that's really the idea. It's an homage, if anything, I guess, to answer your, in short, but it's also an inspiration. Like I at least am truly inspired by that time of, that time. And I think that human behavior hasn't changed so much in 25 years that kind of thing wouldn't be replicable now.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
For sure. And, that was one of the things that stuck out to me. I was like, Windows 98 Phil, but, version 2 is coming out and I love all the features that you just mentioned. And so super exciting stuff, man. I love what you guys are building, because I've played over on Pump Fund quite a bit, just because it's like the biggest casino in town. But, you get tired, you get burnt out from that. And so I'm excited for what you guys are going to bring for that next version. But before I let you go, I'd hate to not ask you, because you're experienced in the space, your market maybe sentiment, just a little bit at a high level of maybe what you think is how it's gonna play out for the last quarter and maybe 2026.
Yeah, you know what? Let me look at my trading view really fast, because I actually don't keep up with it. I don't keep up with it every day.
Are you a crystal ball?
Yeah. It's so hard to say. It's just really hard to say, and I wish it was something that I could, the problem is this: whenever I say something, whether it's one way or the other, people act on it sometimes, and then I feel bad one way or the other. But what I can say is this: I'm going to the Multicoin LP Summit on Thursday, right? And so that's a big investment firm that. They have like an annual get together kind of thing. And so I'm going to go to that, and I might have a little better of an idea of what the sort of the general market looks like from that perspective. I can say in the trenches, it's dirty right now. It doesn't look too good. I can say with the builders who I'm around all the time, it's super, super, super positive. Everyone at Dev Connect, we've got some people down at Dev Connect from America.Fun. Everyone's excited. Everyone's stoked. Everyone's just build. They just don't even pay any attention to it. But I am curious what institutional and family offices and that kind of crew we're thinking, and I think I'm going to find out here in a couple of days at the summit. So once I have those 3 things, then I'll have a formed opinion, probably.
I love it.
I might not say it out loud.
I was hoping to have you back. It'd be great to let us know what's happening. But this has been absolutely awesome, Ogle, man. Really appreciate your time. Really appreciate you giving our audience your time as well. And just want to thank you. And if there's anything you would like to say to the audience before you go.
I think you can see my username. It's America.Fun. My personal Twitter is @CryptOgle, CryptOgle. I tweet every day, quite a lot. Some of it's a little bit aggressive, some of it's a little bit friendly, and some of it's a little bit funny. So, whatever you like, hopefully you get a dose of it. I think that what I would ask is this: is just screw me, but just go to the America Fun side, put it on notifications, and pay attention to it whenever we're doing some stuff. If you like it or you hate it, let us know. I really am very receptive to feedback. I think it's the way we're going to get better. So if you hate something, please do let us know. We won't ban you. It's nothing like that. I appreciate everyone listening. I appreciate you, Yagobi, Shizzy, you guys have me on here and giving us time.
Awesome. Well, Ogle, we appreciate your time. We know you're super busy, and can't wait to have you back on the show for a round 2. But we appreciate you, and we'll talk to you soon.
And take care, boys. See you around.
Take it easy.
Thank you, sir. Absolutely awesome. Really cool to talk to him. I think he's an awesome guy. I don't know, man. I think I just got bullish on America.Fun. I don't think I was yesterday. So I really felt like he explained it really well in a better way. Like the old school launch pads, you couldn't just go there and just launch a token, right? You actually had to communicate with them. They had to, feel you out, make sure you were right for their launch pad. I mean, that's the same thing as this is, right? So I like it. It's taking the, he's a security guy. He's a guy who's all about safety and making sure people don't get screwed up. I mean, that's the American way, right? That's like, that's what we have police for. Right, so it's not just this gun first economy that that was a 1700s, right? So yeah, really excited to kind of see what he builds with this, and the fact that V2 is coming with a lot of different features and potentially some yield. I don't know. I'm definitely going to be checking it out. I'm definitely glad you found this as well. Great job.
Yeah, you went pretty far back, 1700s. You said 1700s. You got a musket.
Gun first,
you
right?
Got a
they didn't have guns.
There. Hold on. You're like, put some gunpowder in there. But yeah, no, I agree with you, man. Look, the kind of white hat hacker background to me, I felt good about that discussion just now. And if he's going to be, him and his team's going to be a leader in the space, then I feel good on, if his goal becomes accomplished on where it's headed, especially Solana. And, from some of the things I've heard, from different people, is that the leadership on Solana does want that chain to be cleaned up. You know what I mean? And look, there's institutions that are pouring into it. We went over it on the show, the ETFs, and they know what Solana can be. So they just got to clean that chain up. And I think this is a good kind of first step in that direction for a builder like this to do that.
100%, man. It was great show today too. We got 587 people on YouTube and X, not to mention everyone on Kick, Rumble, Abstract, Zora. What's the other R? we're everywhere right now. Rumble, Twitch.
We didn't get to some of these comments, though. I do want to shout out, because I know that some of his community came out. Heisenberg reposted the stream. Appreciate you. Paula Sereno says it sounds like AOL gets to have a DAO, but with sound leadership and team. That's always positive. And then you got the Valor with Eagles coming through, and then Paula says Shizzy's bullish on it. So definitely appreciate the comments. Always keep those coming. I promise we will do our best to get to those for sure, at least by the end of the show. But I think that wraps up our show, right?
Oh, sorry. Yep, that's it, man. That's all I got for today anyway.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate each and every one of you guys. Without you guys, we could not do this. We will constantly repeat that because we are very appreciative of you guys and your support. But also, without our partners, we couldn't do it. So if you could check them out, we would be we would appreciate that greatly. I can't get my words right today, but Emblem Vault is the interoperability layer for the Bitcoin ecosystem. If you're looking to jump your Bitcoin ordinals or NFTs, because they do have Bitcoin NFTs, they're rare Pepe's counterparty. If you're looking to jump those to Ethereum, you got to use Emblem Vault. Why? Because they have the most experience in doing this. They've been doing this since 2021, and they just started a new partnership with TokenWorks to where you can jump your Nakamoto cards right over to Ethereum, right? So that is going to be a part of that Naka strategy that TokenWorks launched. So super exciting stuff with that. But if you're also looking to jump your ordinals, you can actually take your Taproot Wizards over to the Gandhi application and take a loan out against them, which is the largest borrowing and lending NFT application on Ethereum. So make sure you guys are checking that out. But the Emblem team is going to open this up to other environments and layers, including Solana. And speaking of Solana, they have the best AI product in the Solana ecosystem with agenthustle.ai. You can actually use the free subscription level, which is limited prompts and tools, but you can use it just to test it out. You can ask Hustle to find you some low cap gems. He'll bring back a couple options for you and give you reasons why he thinks that these are solid options. He also has a conditional trading engine built directly in Agent Hustle, so you can set buy and sell limit orders directly with Hustle, and you can take care of whatever you need to take care of. You can do this for meme tokens, any SPL Solana tokens, but that is not it. Hustle is also integrated into Hedera Hashgraph, so you can use Hustle to navigate through HBAR. HBAR is growing as they have a meme launchpad that is starting to grow as well. What's it called? It's called Meme Job, right? Meme Job, I believe. And so you can ask Hustle questions about the HBAR tokens, right? So they also are adding the EVM tech stack to this, and they're going to be opening Hustle up to other environments in the EVM tech stack as well. So I think Hustle is going to be one of those wallets that's this one-stop shop. Look, what's hot right now on any chain, and buy that from me. So I'm super excited about the future of Agent Hustle. But there's another product in the ecosystem called Migrate.Fun. If you launched a token on any launchpad that locks liquidity up, you can use Migrate.Fun to help you and your community migrate to another launchpad or to your own LPs, because you can earn the most fees doing that, right? But they are in their second cohort right now with some big brands in there. Pay AI is one of them. The first cohort went really smooth. Second one is going very smooth as well, right? So if you're interested, reach out to the team and see if you can get a spot for the third cohort or the next available spot, and they will guide you through each process of or each step of that process, I should say. And then head over to emblem.vision to learn about all the products I just broke down for you guys. And then Merlin Chain is uniting Bitcoin strength through the power of AI. They have their Wizard version 2.0 that can guide you through Merlin Chain's ecosystem, but it also can swap for tokens outside the ecosystem. It can swap for SPL Solana tokens. It can swap for BNB tokens as well. All you got to do is have some Merlin Chain Bitcoin in your wallet to make that possible. But going back to the ecosystem, it can guide you through Merlin Chain's ecosystem. It can do DeFi functionalities for you, like swapping with Merlin Swap or staking. And speaking of staking, they have a proof of stake security model, and you can participate in 3 ways. The first way is to stake Bitcoin to earn more Bitcoin. For the first staking vault, which ended September 30th, they got 17% APR for their stakers, which is amazing. Staking Bitcoin to earn 17% APR Bitcoin is amazing. And they have their second staking vault live right now. You can get in. It does close January 8th of 2026. So, you know, it's not basically the longer you wait, the, shorter amount of days you have to earn. So you want to take advantage of that, unless you want to wait for the next staking vault, which you can do as well. But they're going to shoot for that same APR as well for this one. And then there's 2 ways to do it with 2 ways to participate in the proof of stake with the Merlin Chain tokens. And the first one is the flexible option, which is a day-to-day. You earn 15% APR with this one. You can claim your rewards daily. You can roll those into compound interest. You can sell down the tokens, keep them, whatever you want to do, right? You can do that. If you do withdraw from this program, you got to wait 7 days for their cooldown period, but that is just normal protocol for them. And then the last option is the bonded option, which is a 6-month lockup option. You earn 45% APR when you stake your Merlin Chain tokens. And you can do the same thing. You actually claim those daily as well, but the tokens are locked up for 6 months. But we appreciate you guys checking out our partners. And yeah, we appreciate you guys a lot.
Yup. Great job, man. As always, you guys have a few more minutes and wouldn't mind checking out onchainrevolution.io. Some of the best articles dating all the way back to 2023. If you know someone just entering the space, please send them our website. We really feel like it can help them get started and caught up to where we are today. The article all about America.Fun was posted last week. Definitely check this out if you haven't yet. They're about 3 to 5 minute reads, depending on how fast you read. You can knock them out very quickly. We have articles every single week, so go check out the X402 article, crypto sentiment outlook, and so much more, guys. Check them all out here. If you guys need a VPN, highly recommend Nord. I use it every single day. They have a Black Friday discount right now, where if you lock it in for 2 years, you get 3 months free. You can actually get 27 months of NordVPN for, I think it's like $70. It's a deal. If you go to the website, they're going to charge you $10 a month. Don't do that. Use our link here. Get it for $2.99 per month and 3 months free. You can't beat that, guys. Why use a VPN? Well, if you want to use something like Hyperliquid, for instance, right, they geo-block you. It is not your country that is blocking you from that site. It is actually the site itself. So it'll allow you to use stuff like Hyperliquid. It'll allow you to use stuff like MEXC. MEXC is one of the exchanges that I use. I do treat it like a restroom, though. I'm in, do my business, and get out. But I highly recommend them for the cheapest fees for depositing and withdrawing and swapping. But you can't use that if you're in America if you don't have a VPN. VPNs are very legal. There's nothing illegal about a VPN. Your privacy is a right, which allows you to do that. So just like, if you jumped on a plane and went to Italy, now you're able to use these sites. You don't even need a plane. You can just use a VPN. Definitely check that out. And if you guys need a ledger, definitely use our link here. We just got an affiliate link with these guys. Hit the Ledger tab up here. It'll take you, and you guys can get hardware wallets, all types of stuff. Make sure you guys are keeping your crypto safe and not with, you know, other stuff. Recently, I saw a guy, he had about $2 or $3 million in XRP. He used one of those crap hardware wallets that was actually a hot wallet. He had no idea. At least with Ledger, you know what you're getting into. It's probably the best one, the easiest one that I absolutely use. Do not lock up your thousands and thousands of dollars in bad crypto wallets. Use Ledger. Use our link here if you are going to purchase anything. But check everything out here at onchainrevolution.io. Remember, guys, we are live Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Pacific, and 4 p.m. UTC. Check us out all week, guys. And until tomorrow.
Peace.
OnChain revolution, roll call. Market recap. You're not bullish enough, no. You're not bullish enough, no. Look at the price go, Bitcoin control. Why you still coping? Price action rolling. Don't fall for bear traps. Swapping indexes and putting it up in the sex. I can take profit right now. OnChain is where I be now. You can never look back. They don't want you to know. How did the market react? Fear and greed gotta adapt. Now we bridging the tokens and marching the network right now. You know how crazy we are. Nookies are savages now. They know how crazy we are. Chain abstraction, main attraction. OnChain revolution.